Lando Norris is being loved and supported by McLaren a bit too much. Now you might be thinking, how is that a bad thing? Well, what it has done is it has made Lando Norris very dependent on the pit wall to make decisions on track, especially when it comes to strategy. And sometimes, as a competitor, as a driver, especially if you want to win a world championship in Formula One, you kind of sometimes need to think for yourself because that's when you are the most selfish. You cannot expect the employee of McLaren's, because that's what they are first. They are on your side of the garage, but that doesn't mean that they're not employees of McLaren. But Lando Norris, because he's loved and supported so much, it has weakened his ability to think selfishly for himself, and we saw the proof of that in the 2025 Dutch Grand Prix. In this video, I'm going to explain it to you. Let's go through it chronologically. So the race begins. Oscar Piastri is on pole. Great getaway. Drives off into the distance. Lando Norris doesn't have a good start, as usual. Max Verstappen overtakes Lando Norris at turn 2, and Lando spends a few laps behind Max Verstappen. And during this period of time, Oscar Piastri P1, Max Verstappen P2, and Lando Norris P3, during this period of time, Oscar Piastri pulls away. Puts 3 seconds, nearly 4 seconds between himself and Max Verstappen. And by the time Lando Norris makes the move completed over Max Verstappen, he has to make up more than 4 seconds to Oscar Piastri. And I'm thinking, Oscar Piastri has clean air. Zandvoort is a narrow track, difficult to follow. Basically, there is only one overtaking opportunity, so there is nothing much Lando can do at this stage. Then the safety car happened. Both of the McLaren's pit, which is fair, both of them were running on used mediums, so yes, you should pit. They pit. And because of the safety car, the gap is now neutralized. Now I'm getting excited in my head. I'm thinking, okay, finally, we have seen earlier in Austria where Oscar Piastri was behind Lando. We have also seen this in Hungaroring where Oscar Piastri was behind Lando and he was attempting to make the overtake on the British driver, but he came short. In Austria, he was a little bit closer, but both in Austria and in Hungaroring, it didn't really work out well for Oscar Piastri. So I'm thinking, I'm excited about this, that now this time, things are reversed. This time, Oscar Piastri is ahead and Lando Norris is behind him. The safety car has, destroyed and wiped away whatever buffer Oscar Piastri had. And I'm thinking that Lando is going to put the pressure on him. We are going to see some attempts. We will see what happens. Right? Lando Norris has won in Zandvoort before. Maybe he can do something. Now, obviously, nothing happened. He was just outside of the DRS zone, and he was not putting enough of a pressure. And that frustrated me and everybody else because we wanted to see this guy's battle. That kind of pissed me the fuck off. And I don't want to put complete blame on Lando Norris at this stage yet, because it may be very difficult to follow around Zandvoort. And in Hungaroring, in Oscar Piastri's situation, like in Hungaroring, for instance, Oscar Piastri had a tire advantage. And in Austria, if you look at Austria, you can consider that there are 3 DRS zones and the effect of DRS and slipstream is quite high in Austria. So I think Lando Norris not able to make a huge impact or give Oscar Piastri so much trouble in the Dutch Grand Prix, despite being helped by the safety car, was okay, kind of acceptable. Obviously, from an entertainment standpoint, nothing was happening, but still, okay, I'm gonna let that slide. Then comes another safety car. This time, this is the safety car of Charles Leclerc, the second Ferrari. And I'm thinking, okay, this is another golden opportunity for Lando Norris, because what he needs to do is, if Oscar Piastri pits, he can go ahead and hog track position, inherit the lead of the race, see what happens, fight with Oscar till the end of the Grand Prix. That didn't happen. If Oscar Piastri decided to stay on track, then he should go to the pits, maybe get a fresh set of tires if he had one, or whatever it is, a faster set of tires theoretically, and then try to put the pressure on Oscar. Do the alternate strategy. But Lando, because he's loved by McLaren and supported by the team too much, he has offloaded his thinking in World Championship fighting situations to the employees of the company. Now, obviously, because they are the employees of the company, first they're going to think about the culture and the vibe around the entire organization. They are not going to put your selfish aspirations in Formula One first. And we all know this. When Lando Norris wins or gets pole position, Andrea Stella, Zach Brown, these motherfuckers are happy as shit. When Oscar Piastri achieves the same things, they're not as happy. We can see that. And Oscar Piastri uses that to his advantage, and over time, that extra bit of love and affection and comfort has become a curse for Lando Norris. Because Oscar knows that, okay, now I have to think for myself. Now I have to go ahead and do whatever I can on the track. That's why he chased Lando Norris down the way he did in Austria, in Hungaroring. And similarly, also, if you look at how Lando Norris was chasing Oscar Piastri in Belgium, it was kind of unimpressive. He was not making that much of an impact. And the same thing repeated again in Zandvoort. The second safety car happens, this time triggered by Charles Leclerc's Ferrari. And Lando Norris, what does he do? He follows exactly what Oscar Piastri does. The team calls both of the drivers and says that, you know what, guys, let's double stack. And Lando Norris doesn't care to think that, hey, wait a minute. I have just spent multiple laps behind Oscar Piastri, my teammate, and it was very hard to get close. And Oliver Bearman has done 50 laps on hot tires. They're going to hold up well. Obviously, it won't be ideal, but they're going to hold up well. There are a few laps to go. Maybe multiple issues will happen. Not like issues, but other incidents will happen. Things will get in the way. There might be traffic, whatever. Wait a minute. Oscar is going to the pits during the safety car. I will just stay outside and inherit track position and see what happens. It didn't occur to Lando Norris to think like that. And that's the big problem, because when the second round of pit stops were happening for the McLaren drivers, I was screaming at the screen because it didn't do any good to Lando Norris. If he had just did the alternate strategy to Oscar Piastri and inherited track position, he could have won the race. And even if Oscar had the tire advantage towards the later stages and Lando lost the position on the track, he would still be second. Now, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, nothing really mattered because he DNF'd. He had an engine issue, so that was out of his control. I totally get that. But Max Verstappen was never a threat, and you always need to think for yourself in a selfish manner and do the opposite of your teammate when you have tried the normal thing. You have tried following Oscar and trying to put the pressure on Oscar for multiple laps after the first safety car. After the first Lewis Hamilton safety car, the advantage of Oscar Piastri vanished. But still Lando struggled to make an impact on him, put Oscar Piastri under a significant amount of pressure. And you repeated the same thing again. Why? You did not learn anything during those laps, that it's harder to stay close in Zandvoort, and in Zandvoort there is only one overtaking opportunity, so track position is significantly important. You did not even learn that after the qualifying session yesterday. And the reason why all of this is happening is because he has offloaded his thinking to the team. He is loved and supported, and have you met people in life who were hugged a bit too much when they were kids while growing up? And they kind of have this weird perspective towards life where they very easily believe others to make good decisions for them. I have seen a few people like that, and I think Lando Norris is one of them. Now, on one side, it's extremely positive that McLaren has created this environment where Lando is feeling the way he is feeling, but at the same time, you kind of have to throw this guy in the deep end, give him some alone time, make him feel that the world is out there to get him so that he develops the skills to think like a predator. And that's how you need to think, especially when battling Oscar Piastri. You had the golden opportunity to inherit track position in the second safety car, which was triggered by Charles Leclerc. During that period of time, if you had inherited the track position, just see what happens, right? It's very difficult to overtake. It's difficult to even follow. But obviously Lando Norris, because he has, as I mentioned, as I have been saying this entire video, and this all connects back to his psychological disadvantage compared to Oscar Piastri. Some people say that the psychological disadvantage is primarily related to the emotions, but it is not really directly related to the emotions. Yes, emotional management is a big part of everything, but subconsciously it makes you dependent on other people's wisdom to make decisions on the track and in your career. And that's what has fucked Lando Norris. Now, obviously, he DNF'd, so in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, you have to do things opposite to your driver. And it worked out for him in Hungaroring. In Hungaroring, he went for a one-stop while Oscar Piastri was on a two-stop, and it worked out for him perfectly well. The unfortunate thing is that in Hungaroring, the one-stop strategy that Lando did, it happened out of lack of options in that circumstance. Lando Norris was kind of pushed into a corner where he was kind of like, well, let's just see what happens with the one-stop. You know what I mean? And that's something that I don't want from Lando. I want him to go ahead and aggressively choose the one-stop strategy himself voluntarily and not choose it because he was boxed into a corner and just ran out of options. You know what I mean? And if that mentality with Lando existed then he would have done this in Zandvoort. He would have looked at Oscar ahead of him. He's diving into the pace. You know what? Fuck this. I'm going to go ahead and get track position. Max Verstappen is right behind me because it's the safety car situation. So it's very likely that Oscar Piastri after the pit stop may join behind me. But Max Verstappen also pitted, so that didn't happen. But I'm just saying. So all of those things didn't naturally come to him. The only situation in which Lando will do something different to his teammate, strategy-wise and whatever, is when he is forced into a situation where there is no other option but to do the alternate thing. So this is a part of the mindset that Lando needs to change. And I was genuinely hoping to see a battle between these two guys, but following the car ahead is very difficult. But I also think that Lando was not on his best throughout the entire weekend. This is an Oscar Piastri tag. Hopefully in Monza things will be different and we'll get to see some nice battle. And this is the problem broadly with 2025's Drivers' Championship fight. There is no animosity between these two guys. Lando Norris is kind of like a little bit of an emotional guy. He is loved too much by McLaren and he is, codependent on the team to make his decisions for him. And, the team members, the employees of McLaren, obviously, they're going to do what is best for the entire organizations as a whole. And Oscar Piastri is a beast, so he doesn't give a fuck. So 2025 looks like it's going to be a seamless victory for Oscar Piastri. It looks close if you look at the numbers. Like, even before the Zandvoort thing, it looks close. And because of that, we're like, anything could happen. But Lando Norris ain't got that dog in him. And he needs to go ahead and dig deep to find that selfish guy within him to think in a slightly more vindictive way, if that makes sense. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.